Alright, let's try this again, because I went off on a tangent that I really shouldn't have. So obviously I'm still on Gentoo. I'm going to talk a bit today about what I had to do and kind of why there's a problem. I want to say I've already talked about this, about KDE, but I had a bit more to say now. Is So on Gentoo today, I decided to install Simple Scan because I needed to fucking scan my insurance card or whatever. And what happened was, I mean, everything mostly worked, but I got stuck because it kept saying I needed to install the Pixma backend. And I was like, I already did that. I added that in my sane backends in make.conf. What the fuck? So I tried adding myself to the scanner and USB groups, and that still didn't work. Simple Scan was still complaining about it. So I went to the troubleshooting section and it said, try running this, scanner command as root. So I did that, and it detected my scanner, and then it said, okay, now try running it as non-root. And then it said, oh, your scanner didn't show up. That may be a device, or node permissions error. And I was like, what the fuck? I already added myself to the groups. What more permissions do you need? So I found it on the Slackware forums of all things was I needed to be in the LP group as well. And that was not on the wiki, so I'm trying to tell somebody about that right now, but they have been offline. So I need to go report that on the IRC or Discord or something. I tried to, but nobody that could edit the wiki was there. Uh, so I'm gonna wait for somebody to get online and hassle them about it. But basically, what a something I like though, and I've talked a bit about KDE trying to pull in fucking everything, right? I didn't really get into it like this though. So let's say you have like a 2.5 megabyte fucking KDE application. It's going to try to pull in Qt's dev tool chain and the entire KDE desktop to run this stupid application because they have no modularity. So being on XFCE, obviously we're using GTK, and GNOME uses GTK. So you have a lot of shared libraries and shit, right? So when I install Simple Scan, which is a GNOME application, it does not try to pull in the entirety of GNOME desktop. And it doesn't try to pull in all this GTK developer tools that you need for a dependency for whatever fucking reason. I talked about this on Void where I tried to change a wallpaper in Dolphin, and it was reliant on not Qt, but Qt's toolchain, as in I don't fucking know why. It needed to pull in the developer tools for Qt as a dependency for a desktop package. I was like, what the fuck? So I tried asking somebody about that, and the Void maintainer said, yeah, all this shit's getting rewritten in Qt6 anyway, so we're not gonna fucking worry about it right now. For right now, we're just gonna add that stupid developer tools as a dependency for Dolphin. Which was so stupid. I was like, why? Why do you need this? You have a command line utility to change the wallpaper. Fucking use it. But anyways, GNOME doesn't do that. You try to install a GNOME application, and if you don't have GTK, it'll pull all of GTK, but it won't pull the entire GNOME desktop. So that's something that's frustrated me, is just modularity, because it's kind of annoying being restricted on packages because I don't choose to have KDE installed on my computer. I'm fine with it pulling Qt as long as it's not the Qt dev tools. Because I shouldn't fucking need those unless I'm actually working on Qt. That shouldn't be a dependency. But anyways, that's actually not what I wanted to talk about today. I just decided to bring that up. Uh, what I did want to talk about today, though, is holy fucking shit. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about today, holy fuck, is I took my Ventoy USB that I put Windows 10 IoT LTSC on, right? And what I was going to do with that is that was going to be my rescue in case Fedora fucked itself for some reason. I was going to have a Windows USB. So I was bringing a flash drive I DD'd Fedora onto, as well as a flash drive with Windows 10 on it. Just in case somebody said, oh my god, you need to have Windows 10 for this bullshit we're doing. I'm like, fine, I'll have Windows just in case. But I decided, because I was fucking around and I found out in Fedora a while ago, I tried to compile a Goodix fingerprint scanner firmware flasher. And it kind of worked, but it still kept getting an error saying that I couldn't find any fingerprint scanners or whatever. And I heard it doesn't really work that well anyways. So what I did was I was like, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to install Windows. I'm going to reflash that firmware because Windows Update will do that automatically. And that all worked fine, right? The only thing I'm getting right now is that one error refuses to go through, which was from January of this year, so I'm assuming it's just a bugged update. But what it's doing, though, is, where the fuck was I going with this? Oh, the other thing I wanted from it was I noticed this is something that you don't really get if you're on Linux, is that Windows will update your BIOS sometimes. So if you're not like regularly flashing your BIOS with whatever the latest one is on newer laptops, especially on like mini desktops, Windows will do all that for you, which I think is a cool feature. Honestly, I had forgotten that I probably should update my BIOS, and it makes it a lot easier than having to stick in a drive and fucking boot up the installer and all this other bullshit. It's annoying. But I was getting all of these updates, and I decided to do kind of a challenge on this install, right? Because obviously if I'm using an operating system, I'm going to try to do something crazy with it. So this time what I'm doing is I installed Firefox and Steam, and then I realized, what if these are on Chocolatey? And so I went on to Chocolatey, and it turns out just about everything that I actually run, besides a few things, are already on Chocolatey. And I was like, I could do a Chocolatey only Windows install and see how far that goes. Because if you remember, I've already talked about IoT LTSC on my last video. I had to do a little bit of digging today because somebody was asking about it, and there are a few changes I didn't mention. So it comes with the standard like Windows 10 applications, but no Windows Store. And you can add the Windows Store back, but if you're using something like the Windows Store version of like Calculator, which has the overlay feature, you probably will need the Windows Store for that, unless you like compile it from source or something, which you can do because it's open source. But for some reason they don't publish binaries on GitHub. I don't know why, but whatever. I don't really want my fucking calculator to update though, because it says it gets a lot of updates with bug fixes, and I'm like, why? Why is your calculator bugged? Holy fucking shit. So anyways, a few other things that it has though, right, is if you're like coming from Windows 11 and you're like trying to go back to Windows 10, you may be taking a few things for granted, like the new File Explorer, how Dark Theme is actually applied across multiple apps now instead of just a few, Not that you care about that, but I also realized that so I was using Masgrave to download Windows 10, and it does not come activated, but there is no way to get a key for it. So you do have to run an activation script, which technically it's really weird. Like, it's a technically, morally, ethically gray area, but you are only using internal processes in order to activate it. So technically you're not doing anything that isn't built into Windows already. So if that makes you feel better, where you're like, well, technically I'm not pirating anything because it's all built into Windows. Hardware ID activation is just something, if you know enough scripting, you can do it yourself, basically. If you know enough about the operating system. It's a very small script. It barely does anything. So, which is contrary to using KMS activation servers, which was using a third-party service, Now you can do everything on your own. So I don't know if that's like a deal breaker for somebody, like, hey, I want Windows 10, but I also want to pay for it for some reason. Which I don't know why you would care, But people are like that. I don't understand it personally. But Anyways, the what I was gonna say though was, it does come very so. I can't really think right now. Like, what was I really gonna say about this? Honestly, oh yeah, running Chocolatey though, I did run into one thing where I was launching the command prompt as administrator a lot, which got really annoying really fast. So I made a little taskbar shortcut to put the to launch command prompt as an administrator, so I can, because there is no like sudo or do as in Windows. You know, you gotta fucking deal with launching shit as an administrator. I'm sure there's like a command you can run to get administrative shell access, but I'm too fucking lazy to do all that. It's not as simple as sudo. I'll tell you that much. So I made a little application to launch, or I made a little shortcut to launch it as an administrator. That's the only thing I would really recommend. But as I installed it though, I added a few things that the LTSC doesn't really have, which is one, you don't get that stupid web search in the search bar. You know, like when you hit start or whatever, it doesn't fucking come up with. It doesn't come up with like Bing web search or anything. You do have Microsoft Edge installed, which is, I mean, it's fine. You probably shouldn't uninstall it just in case, for God, whatever reason, your Firefox install breaks or Chrome or whatever, you have a backup. And I'm probably just going to use that as my backup Chrome browser because I'm fucking lazy. And I only really use Chrome now to fill out forms when Firefox doesn't work with them or something, but usually the form is just broken. So I tested in a Chrome browser just to make sure. But anyways, yeah, LTSC has been slightly interesting, not really, but kinda, you know. I'm more eager to see that 11 LTSC that's coming out in like June or later than that. But we'll see, you know. That's about all I wanted to talk about. Thanks.